The Minnesota Vikings have been around since 1961. And I just want them to win a damn Super Bowl before I die. Welcome to Before I Die with Judd and Jessi on Purple Daily and Score North.
Can you take me higher? Actually, instead of that, I have another one for you. Happy birthday to you.
Oh,
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Judd Lee. Happy birthday
to you.
you're too kind. You're too kind. And at 54, I don't even know that I want to know it's my birthday, but I do appreciate the very nice sentiments. Thank you very much.
Hey,
Do you still have the capabilities of knowing it's your birthday without people telling you?
You see the gray hair? You see the
Wow.
gray hair? I choose to try and forget about it, actually. But then it comes, but I mean, it's nice when you are wished a happy birthday. It's just the problem is by your 50s, you're like, really? I have to keep aging?
I know.
So it is what it is, as the kids say.
It is our resident sports dad, Judd Zulgad's birthday. This is before I die because we want the Minnesota Vikings to win just one Super Bowl before we die. I'm Jessi Pierce, writer for NHL.com, selfie extraordinaire, new office makeover as well. You guys will be seeing some cool stuff going on up there. And over there, we got producer Ross.
Nice.
Ross, why do you like the Minnesota Vikings?
Well, I love the Minnesota Vikings because the pain of being a Vikings fan lets me know I'm still alive. But where's the pain been? What is this? What is this feeling of joy and bliss?
The Vikings are keeping us all alive. Their creed is taking them higher and higher. Actually, that's not Creed. That's Josh Dobbs taking them higher and higher. After a 1-5 start, the Vikings have won 5 straight, current longest streak in the NFL with a 27-19 victory over New Orleans at US Bank Stadium. Up next, you guys, you got the Denver Broncos. Then you got the Chicago Bears. Then there's the bye week. Then there's a trip to Vegas. Now, are we going to see this thing snowball into an 8-game winning streak before they head to Cincinnati in week 15? I think it might be a thing.
Well, it would make sense because I think what Ross is feeling, of course, now is the anticipation that this franchise loves to give you of hope. You know, we're back from the dead, and they basically ordinarily go off the cliff after that hope builds up, right? Like to the playoffs or something like that. So I think they beat Denver. They definitely should beat Chicago. Vegas is tricky now, though. Since Antonio Pierce replaced that idiot Josh McDaniels, they've actually played better. But I could definitely see this. This team, in my opinion, on Sunday, that was as much fun as I've had watching a game in person with, low expectations or not huge ones in a long time. Josh Dobbs, just because of his ability to run, makes the game fun. Like he's got the dual threat and he makes the game fun. And the Vikings, to me, with Dobbs, feel looser. It feels like more of the first half felt like recess. Like when you go out and draw up plays in the schoolyard for recess. Yeah. That's how that felt. He's taking off and running. He's scrambling and throwing passes. So I think that we are in for some more Viking success before what feels like usually the inevitable downfall of the franchise, Ross.
Fun is my second favorite F word, you guys, and the Minnesota Vikings sure are turning this season into just that. Ross, is it more fun this year to watch the Vikings than last year's 13-4? I mean, there was some dramatics last year. The way that the Vikings were winning was like, oh my gosh, you're hanging on. And Judd nailed it. Yesterday's game, so much freaking fun.
Yeah, I think there's many layers or many different ways you can define fun. Obviously, last year was fun because the team, unless they got blown out, you never felt like they were going to lose a game. You always felt like Judd talked about this. Oftentimes, you would see Judd tweet things along the lines of, Vikings haven't played well. They're down 20-17 with 4 minutes left, but we know they'll end up winning this game. And they would. That was fun. This year's fun because it's something so different. It's so unexpected. We didn't even know Josh Dobbs would be playing. We thought it would be Jaren Hall. Could be Jaren Hall's job to lose. He might get a few weeks. Well, boom, he gets injured almost immediately, gets turned over to Josh Dobbs, and now look what he's done in the last 2 games, and technically his first start in the most recent game on Sunday. I think it's more fun just from a standpoint of when I now watch the games, I can't look at the next 4 games and say they're going to go 3-1, 4-0 with any confidence or any certainty. I think honestly, if they go 2-2, you'd like them to do better. But if they're sitting at 8-6, they're still firmly in the mix if they go 2-2 in the next 4. I think this is fun because watching now, Judd and Jessi, J squared, it's house money. You're literally just watching carefree. It's like, oh, great. The Vikings won. They're still in the playoff mix. They're still in the top 7. Maybe they'll track down Detroit. Oh, the Vikings lost. Not a huge deal. They're playing with somebody else's backup quarterback, and it moves them up the draft order for April. It's fun. Either result right now is fun. So yes, the way I'm viewing it, this is more fun than last year because Judd, maybe they still will reel me in like you were talking about.
Oh, they will.
But I can't be hurt because I know the shoe is going to come down. I know it's going to come down. They're not winning the Super Bowl with Josh Dobbs. That doesn't mean I can't have fun along the way.
I mean, wouldn't that be something? The Pasternaut wins the Lombardi for Minnesota. That would just be tremendous. Now, Josh Dobbs has done so much in 2 games, just turning things around, completed 23 of 34 passes yesterday for 268 yards and a touchdown, plus rushed for 44 yards on 8 carries with a rushing touchdown for 7 yards. Love the run game. That's by far my favorite. Now, the way that Josh Dobbs has performed these past 2 games, how upset do you think the likes of the New York Jets or the Atlanta Falcons are for not saying, hey, maybe we could give this guy a shot? Now, certainly Minnesota winning, they didn't have probably the confidence that they obviously now have. It was a little bit of a stroke of luck. I think there's a great story in Josh Dobbs, but how pissed do you think those other 2 teams are that they didn't try to take a swing at him?
Well, they shouldn't be because I don't think that he has this success with them. And the second half of yesterday's game, which, by the way, I don't blame Dobbs for at all, but O'Connell in his post-game presser called himself out for being too conservative. So I think the reality is a lot of what we've seen from Dobbs is, yes, he has talent. There's no question. He can definitely throw. And I mean, my God, we've seen his athletic ability to run, but I don't think the Jets or the Falcons have the offensive masterminds to ever put him in this role. And this goes back to my point for a long time, which is a lot of times a quarterback has to get with the right guy, with the right coaching staff. And I have no idea how long the joyride is going to continue here. But I think if you took Josh Dobbs today and planted him with Arthur Smith, who's seemingly a buffoon in Atlanta, I think he's average. I don't think he's great. And I think if you planted him with Hackett with the Jets, I think he's okay. But I think that this marriage with O'Connell, when O'Connell lets Josh Dobbs do what Josh Dobbs can do, at least for now, is why it's working so well. So I actually don't think I don't think Josh Dobbs is like a Pro Bowl quarterback emerging. I think he's a great story. I think he's more talented than some teams thought. But I also think that you have to give a lot of credit to the environment he's been plopped into, especially coming out of another buffoonery organization with the Cardinals.
Very quickly, Jessi, I think one thing that helps Josh Dobbs, and we saw it yesterday, not as much in his first game, but yesterday we saw it. And Atlanta has this with Kyle Pitts. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure the Jets do. What do backup quarterbacks and younger quarterbacks or more inexperienced quarterbacks typically love? They love the tight end position because it's a great safety net. Well, the Vikings not only have a safety net in TJ Hawkinson, they have one of the better tight ends in the league, and we saw that yesterday. And probably by default, force-feeding the ball to TJ Hawkinson because almost everybody else on the roster outside of Jordan Addison is injured. So I think having things like that and an offensive line that's doing enough to keep him upright makes a lot and a big difference.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So thank you. Ross.
I'll mute myself. See you later.
No, I mean, I was going to say a little bit more. Josh Dobbs helping TJ Hawkinson become valued again. I mean, we've saw him struggle. I think it's a little bit of a resurgence for Hawk, which we love. Speaking of a resurgence, if you will, Ty Chandler. Get him on your fantasy football team, ladies and gentlemen. I think that's going to be there. Go ahead, Ross.
Obligatory fantasy football mention.
think I saw he's only owned by like 8% of the league. So if you don't have him, go grab him because he's likely going to carry the bulk of the workload with Alexander Madison in concussion protocol. 15 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. Judd, Ty Chandler, like what you see. How is this going to be moving forward?
Well, just play him. Like, he might not be perfect, and I mean, there's clearly things they don't like, because if they did like him, he would have played. They probably wouldn't have gone out and traded for Cam Akers. But when you just see that speed, right? Like, that speed is alone. Like, okay, if he can't play on third down because he can't block, all right, that's fine. CJ Ham could play on third down. But the reality is, when you watch that burst that he has compared to Madison, who, is, I mean, he's gotten chance after chance after chance. Yes, I am like you. I am on the Ty Chandler bandwagon, whether that be fantasy football or real life. I want to see him play more now, and I don't think there's a compelling case not to play him more now.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the post game locker room stuff was fun when he gets a game ball. If you guys saw this, and Brian O'Neill immediately goes, "I owe you one," because he got called for that holding call on Chandler's second rushing touchdown. I think at this point, well, one, you're going to have to play him again. A word of the podcast so far, at least for me, by default, you're running out of bodies, so you're going to have to play him more. I continue to be intrigued, though. We look at the day and we go, wow, he had a really good day. But again, that's only by comparison. You look at the numbers and go, well, he averaged 3 yards a carry and at 45 total yards, only led the team in rushing by what? He beat Josh Dobbs by 1 yard. So again, it goes back to, I'm not all entirely sure it's all on the running backs. Obviously, the offensive line plays a role here, but you're going to have to play him one because you invested a little bit of capital into him, not a lot. But at this point, anybody you were to try to bring back in off the waiver wire or a free agent is going to be no better than what you have. And what are you losing? What are you losing by playing Ty Chandler more at this point?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I would completely agree. I want to give one more round of applause for the Brian Flores defense, which continues to be just tremendous.
Magnificent. How good is that defense? Like, especially compared to a year ago. My God, is that fun to watch? You never know what's coming.
Right? It's so tremendous. Now we're giving credit to Brian Flores. I do want to nitpick just a smidge on KOC. The challenges yesterday. Judd, did you guys talk to him at all about that? Who was helping him? Why didn't he challenge on Munt's 3rd and 1 that turned into a 4th and 10 after a Dobbs sack? Like, what is going on in KOC's brain or in whomever's telling him what to do's brain? What can you do about that?
Well, so he didn't challenge the second one because of I believe it was Addison near touchdown that he did challenge. But the problem on that one was he didn't clearly see, or somebody didn't see the play through its entirety. Now, the fact that Jordan got his feet down, I don't know how he did it. Like, that was an incredible catch. But you clearly saw when they showed the entire play that the ball was jarred loose. Like, he did not, as they say, survive the ground. So, like, that was a terrible challenge. Not because he didn't get his feet in, but because you could clearly see that when the ball, I mean, he lost the ball. So I think that precluded him from challenging another play. So was the controversy that he didn't challenge the first down spot? Because I did hear that. See, I'm not big on challenging first down spots. Just because once they spot the ball, it's really hard unless they've goofed up big time to get that changed. Yeah, Ross.
That one to me, though, Judd, was so obvious because once and TV barely talked about it. They glossed over it, but that's what happens when, not to be mean, you get the C or D team on Fox. Unless I'm completely missing something, when he falls down, his knees never hit the ground until the football actually hits the ground first.
Right.
So he is fully laying on the 28. They spot it at the 29. You can challenge that, and even if they move it a half a yard and you're still short, you're going to win it. I'm not sure that would have changed the play call, but I can't believe he was spotted a full yard short. To me, it wasn't even close. Maybe when you re-spot it, he's still short. But to me, of everything they challenged or didn't challenge yesterday, to me, that was the play. I get it, Judd. I'm with you on those 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 on a quarterback sneak, and coaches will challenge. Don't even waste your time. But this one, it was clear. I thought, unless maybe Jessi, maybe you saw something different that I didn't see. it looked clear as day to me that that ball was misspotted.
And I would agree. I mean, again, Judd, you obviously have a different perspective than us when you're actually at US Bank Stadium, but from my perspective, that's what I saw as well.
Yeah, I just don't trust them. I don't trust them to get those calls right. I think it's got to be clear cut calls. I've seen spots that have been screwed up and they don't. I think it's one of the toughest things to get corrected accurately. But there, he wasted a challenge, so there's no question. The Addison catch was a bad challenge. My biggest gripe of the day was the decision to try to kick a 54-yard field goal on 4th and 3. What are you doing, Kevin? Go for it. It's 4th and 3. Go for it. Your kicker is not good, and this is a whole different problem from 50 plus. And I gotta believe that the analytics world says in that situation, go for it. So and plus, if you miss now, the ball goes back to where the ball is spotted for the kick attempt.
Yep.
So you gave the Saints outstanding field position, and that in the press box was a first guess. We were all like, what are you doing? And then of course he missed it, and it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. But yeah, Kevin O'Connell, as he admitted, did not have a good second half. He did not.
Well, and
he
that's
struggled.
Noticeable on the scoreboard alone. What do you think it is that he is? I mean, we've seen him be conservative all season long, and there's just this lack of bite and lack of aggression. Why is that? I mean, does he not have some of the faith and trust in some of the players without Kirko there and without JJ? I mean, what is the reason that you think he is playing it so safe and so almost scared? I want to say, like, he's just not willing to try and go for it. He's trying not to lose.
Yeah, because I think in the case of the Saints game was he had a big lead. I think it was 24-3 at halftime. Then the Vikings drove and got a field goal. So it's 27-3. And I think at that point, football coaches, young or old, often think, oh my God, you know what? I'm up by a lot. I got to protect the lead, blah, blah, blah. They get conservative. Young ones too. And I think that's what we saw. But with what they have going on and with Dobbs, you got to put your foot on the gas. You got to put your foot on the gas. That's how Dobbs plays best. It's very clear. Like he didn't have a great second half because I felt like O'Connell tried to turn him into a passing quarterback. Like it became much more conservative, which far more goes to what Kirk does. And by the way, Kirk is a far better conservative quarterback than Dobbs. So but the nice thing was O'Connell talked about it extensively in the post game. I think he knew he screwed up. It's not like Fleck, when PJ Fleck gets to the podium, it's all on me. It's all my fault. You blame me. It's this passive aggressive crap. And he doesn't think that, right? O'Connell explained what he didn't like about what he did. Good for him. But I think he gets it. With Josh Dobbs, I think you got to go 100 miles per hour most of the time. And because if you try and go 55, it's going to actually slow your ability down to distance yourself. And that would have been a hell of a 42-20 win or something like that. Right. Like just keep going.
Just keep going. Have some fun.
I think some of it is game feel too. You talk about the missed field goal from Greg Joseph. You could kind of start to feel the game slipping a little bit. And missing a field goal there, I think, allows the slip even a lot more than going for it on 4th and 3 and just not picking it up.
Right.
And then you factor in the Jameis Winston factor where he comes in, they start to get things rolling. And there are literally 3 things I can attribute that to. 2, I think, are practical. 1, I think, is just more woe is us. 1, the Minnesota Vikings history and even Gophers history in this town with backup quarterbacks. It just so often seems to never go well. And of
that's
course,
Ross's favorite pullback. Like it's always the backup quarterback.
It's always the backup quarterback. All they do is burn the Minnesota Vikings in this town for the most part. But oftentimes it's on short notice or when they enter games. And of course, Jameis Winston immediately starts getting rolling. Well, then you look on the defensive side for B-Flow and his defense. That's not who they game plan for. You go with Derek Carr, who these days is a bit more of a statue, more than he ever was. Now you got a running quarterback. And then you also, when you factor in Jameis Winston, you didn't game plan for him at all. So I feel like KOC and the offense really should have been trying to do more to help their defense in the second half. and they just weren't. However, I do want to say, we don't need to be this negative. The team's won 2 games in a row with a quarterback that was on somebody else's roster. Literally what? Still 14 days ago at this point, 13, 14 days. But you're always striving to get better, right? As one coach in this town, Judd, says, change your best. KOC needs to do that as well as that coach who says that often too.
Speaking of coaches, and I know Judd today on Judd's Hockey Show, you kind of went off on a certain head coach in this town, obviously hockey related. So I'll let you guys all figure out who that might be. But you know what? Ross had a good idea. Who do you think what Josh Dobbs has done in his 2-game stint with the Viking? Who can you compare that to in the NHL world? There's only one hockey reference, you guys, just one, and it's a plug for Judd's Hockey Show on this channel. So bear with us, but it's kind of fun to cross sports once in a while. Let's cross streams here. Hockey related. Josh Dobbs. Who do you think?
Oh boy, someone who's come in at like the deadline.
I go Devin Dubnyk.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great one. That's a great one, Jessi. Yes, you're exactly right. Because and it certainly dissipated after a while, but I mean, for a long time, that he saved that season. That's a fantastic one. Yes. I cannot top that.
He was somewhat of a journeyman at that time, but he wasn't what he was. Like everybody overlooked him, right? Like everybody was he was the backup. He was the guy that just hadn't done well. He gets his trade and changes everything. So that's I'll go Dubes.
That's a perfect one.
Dubes.
TV guy now, a media guy.
Big media guy now. Love to see it. Go check out Judd's Hockey Show and see what he was ranting and raving about this week. Ross, you know what? Speaking of other people's thoughts, let's queue up some comments from YouTube, shall we?
Comments from YouTube.
Was that just as short as you hoped it would be, Judd? I know you always poke fun at that open.
Oh, no, it's just funny. I just like how the guy flies in. Comments from YouTube, and it's not dressed up. It's just like bang.
And then he's gone. You know, we like to make the most of our time here on Before I Die.
I like it.
Comment number 1 comes from Tina Dobson. I wonder if KOC is getting pressure to keep trying to use Madison that way. Not entirely sure what the that way part is for, but the general thought, is he getting pressure to use Madison? My question off of that comment from Tina, is it more of an O-line problem or is it still a running back problem? Perhaps a little bit of both. I'll let either one of you start. You guys fight over it.
Judd, take her away.
Okay, the offensive line is actually in run blocking. The Falcons game was rough, but the offensive line has done a good job. It is a running back problem, and she actually brings up a really good question, I think. It seems hard for me to believe that Kevin O'Connell has watched a ton of film of Madison and has concluded that I'm going to continue to bang my head against the wall. So could it come from, I don't know, the running backs coach? Could it come from Kwesi? I don't know, but I think it's definitely, I think it's a thought worth exploring, because it does seem odd that a coach who does a lot of good things as far as his decisions go, Jessi, would stick with a guy who, I mean, I know they all love him and he's a really good guy, but you know, you watch Ty Chandler run or you watch Cam Akers run, and then you watch Alexander run, and it's not all that close.
It is. It's very interesting. I always find it fascinating when coaches make, or quote unquote, make those decisions, because you can sense he's not doing this. This is somebody else saying, hey, we got to give this guy a shot. We got to make sure we're doing, but you've given him a shot. We've tried it. Quit trying to make Fetch happen. Quit trying to make Madison happen. It's not going to your right. Nothing personal. It's just, you have better options. And I don't think Alexander Madison is it.
We even got a Wongwu carry this weekend. Maybe 2 of them. There was at least one.
He's got speed, man.
He does.
I mean, he's small, and I don't know clearly from his training camp injury problems how durable he is, but he can turn the corner too. It's amazing what flat out being able to put your foot in the ground and take off like a rocket can do.
Take off like a cyclone, maybe. That's kind of what he does.
Oh, yeah. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. How about those Iowa State Cyclones?
Jessi Cyclones have kind of rebounded a little bit.
Hey, there we go. You're going bowling either way. We might even make it to the Big 12 championship. Some pretty winnable games coming up.
Are you serious?
They'd be at Kansas State. That's a winnable game. And then I think it's Texas.
Texas beat.
You know,
Texas ain't gonna win. I don't think, are they?
You're all gaudy right now, Jessi, but you wait till Michigan joins the Big 12 as payback to the Big 10 and just owns it for the next decade.
I bet you Iowa State could be Purdue or Northwestern or Illinois. Just saying.
Yeah, don't be Gopher. Yeah, Roscoe, don't be talking any Gopher trash.
I'm not talking Gopher trash. I actually, of all the teams regionally, Iowa State's probably one of my favorites. I don't have much of a problem.
I feel like your team, Jess, has improved since the coach went off on that fan.
Yeah. Remember when we were poking fun at him for wanting to fight that fan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matt Campbell. I think Matt Campbell leaves to go to Texas A&M.
Ooh, and he should leave now. Like,
what Matt Campbell has done with this fairly talentless Iowa State squad, like the past couple of years, you look at the guys that he had, right? Brees Hall, he had Brock Purdy, he had all number of NFL players now, and this year to turn around a fairly talentless team, and now Jimbo Fisher out at A&M, sounds like Matt Campbell might be getting a little phone ring.
Just make sure the next time that your Cyclones wear that retro look, that they don't wear human flesh colored pants, so it looks like they're not wearing pants. Okay.
Here, I'll let my people know.
Before our final comment from YouTube, did you guys see some Sooners fan trying to get into it with Lincoln Riley in the tunnel?
Yes.
I think it was either at halftime.
No.
Yeah,
yes.
she basically yells at him and tells him "Boomer Sooner," and he either replies, "You got it, sweetheart," or "Get over it, sweetheart," which either one is funny to me. And I do like that. I mean, you could clap back, but certainly we don't need to be getting to fisticuffs or getting super personal. I thought that was good fun.
Sweetheart is very condescending.
It is very condescending.
It's like nobody ever says it like they mean it. It's always like, okay, sweetheart. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? No, back in the day when like an older waitress would call a guy a sweetheart, it's still very nice. And you come across it very rarely, but I actually like that. But men saying it does not work.
Never works.
What about buddy and pal? Buddy and pal are also kind of condescending, aren't they?
They can be. It's all about tone.
I use buddy a lot, but I truly mean it in a loving way. Pal can be very condescending.
I'm not your guy, buddy. I'm not your guy, pal.
Yeah, but I don't mind that. I feel like sweetheart borders on crossing a line unless it's done in genuine affection.
I think I'm just thinking of all the misogynistic men who have been like, okay, sweetheart, to me when I've said something that they disagree with. So maybe it's just my life.
Jessi, because Jessi, I don't know if you know this, you're a woman, you're not allowed to have sports takes or general thoughts on life.
Or really
especially on X.
Outside the kitchen. Yeah.
Don't be doing that on X. Guys don't like that.
Never.
Here's your final comment from YouTube from David Ditter 3781.
Oh.
Yeah. How does KOC continually find himself in these crazy situations? You can't make this stuff up. It's must-watch TV. We have Ted Lasso as our coach, and I love it. By the way, I don't have Apple TV. I still have not watched a second of Ted Lasso.
I haven't either. I really want to see it, but I haven't gotten it.
I haven't either, and I'm not going
to there we go. We're 0 for 3.
Too popular. Too popular for me.
I'll get to it in 10 years. That's what I always tell people when everybody else is on it. He's hilarious. I'm
a big fan of his, but sorry.
Mm-hmm. The question is simply this: KOC is a movie character. Who's playing him?
Brad Pitt.
All right, Jessi.
God, come on. It's a
Brad
Pitt.
I can see
that jaw. Someone good looking.
Brad Pitt's too old now, though.
No? Brad Pitt can play anything. He'd still be fine.
How old's Brad
I'll watch
Pitt?
anything. He's like,
he's got to be
50 something.
He's got to be near 60.
Him and Leo are up there. Leo's in his 40s, right? Yeah. I go Brad Pitt. That's my answer. I'm sticking to it.
The Departed is one of my favorites of all time.
God,
which Brad Pitt was involved in the production and was supposed to be in, and they said you're too old to be in this.
Stop it.
Look up the history of The Departed. Brad Pitt was
instead of like Matt Damon.
Yes. Brad Pitt was going to be in it.
Fascinating.
Who would be? Hold on a second. I'm just trying to think of who I would cast. I'm trying to think of a younger.
I don't even know any younger ones. That's probably also my problem.
The one that I think of for me could be like a Bradley Cooper, but they always say that Bradley Cooper looks a lot like Sean McVay, which is also a weird tie-in since Kevin O'Connell came from the Sean McVay staff. So maybe Bradley Cooper, because Judd's right. I think you
I could see
kind of
that.
have to grab somebody who's kind of in that age range. What about our guy Josh Duhamel? People
I was
like
gonna
him.
say, I think just because he's from Minnesota, like, or
Yeah,
not, he's from North
yeah.
Dakota, South Dakota.
He doesn't. No, I think
Dakota.
Cooper. Yeah, but Bradley Cooper's a good one. Could totally see that. I would take Pitt before Josh to play
Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I don't think Josh.
Again,
fits
it's that.
role.
Think about Brad Pitt's always
Yeah.
chewing something in his mouth to really
Yeah.
show off that jaw structure. Kevin
Yep.
O'Connell's got a very strong jaw.
Now the interesting thing is, and this is true in all sports, but I think it's especially true in football. It's like a presidency. Look at pictures of a
Yes.
coach the day. I mean, like Zimmer, like Childress, and look at the day that they're hired and the day they're fired.
Yep.
And I don't know. So O'Connell, to his credit, keeps himself in great shape, which, by the way, is tough because, like coaches in some cases, I know it's going to shock you, basically grind film and stop exercising. But have you noticed, I think slowly but surely, because O'Connell's not old yet,
No.
the hairline is creeping backwards quickly.
I actually haven't noticed that because he's often
Look at-
always wearing a hat.
I know he is. So, but the next time he's not, and I'm not saying it's terrible, but I'm saying I think it's as far back as mine. And he came in with way more hair, and he's in his 30s still, right? Or he's 40.
I think
He's
he
probably
might still be in his
40.
30s.
Really?
Judd,
Anyway.
how much of a recluse is Wes Phillips, by the way? This is so off topic, but every time I see Wes, he looks, and I say this with all due respect to both guys, he reminds me a little bit of the late great Mike Leach. Like he just came out of the woods to coach football.
Yeah, but Mike Leach was more of a, how can I put this with all due respect to a dead man? He was more of a scammer, I think. I don't think Wes Phillips is a fast talker. Like he's funny, but I don't think he's like Mike Leach had this air of I'm cheating and you know it and there's nothing you can do about it. I don't think Wes Phillips is like that. You know what? I think
Don't talk
he is,
about my guy Mike like that. He was a saint.
Oh, Mike Leach was cheating up a storm, right? Which by the way, we'll get back to.
Okay,
That's a tease
great.
for the show.
Okay,
Mhm.
great. That's all I
Sweet.
got, Jessi.
Should we wrap it up with some Before I Dies?
Yeah,
gents?
we could wrap it up with that. Now you just got to tap dance for a second, and here we go.
Time now for the Before I Die crew to give us their Before I Dies.
Who wants to kick us off this week, boys? I'll let you two fight over it.
Roscoe, you go.
Yeah, I'll make mine short and sweet. Before I die, and this one's more of a prediction, but before I die for the third time since 2019, your Winnipeg Blue Bombers will basically become a dynasty and win the 110th Grey Cup this upcoming Sunday. Let's go, Caleros, for the W. Let's go, Bombers.
Why
They were
do you like
talking
the
about that
CFL
at-
so much.
They were talking about that at Wild Practice today, and I was like, I've heard of this
Were they?
team. Yeah. A couple of
It's-
them were.
John, it's just it's an interesting game. It's a different spin on football, and I've said this numerous times. You and I have talked about this. I don't proclaim it to be the world's greatest football because it's not. But after the NFL and after college football, it's the only football worth watching because novel concept. Their quarterbacks are actually paid a little bit of money, and because they're paid a little bit of money, Judd, what happens? The quarterback play isn't brutal.
And is this the Blue Bombers against the Alouettes of Montreal?
It is against the Montreal.
That
Alouettes.
explains the other things that I've been seeing in my Twitter. Okay.
Uh-huh. And
Let's
I
go
bet
Bombers
the Wild players are excited
W.
about that. The
Yeah.
Montreal group. Dean lives there now, right?
Are you
Around
suggesting he
Montreal?
makes his hometown there
Nope.
or permanent town life?
No,
there?
I'm
Oh.
just saying he lives around there, so he's probably very excited. Now, when I was a kid, the CFL actually used to sometimes steal NFL players.
Wow.
Vince Ferragamo, the quarterback on the Super Bowl NFC representative Rams, signed with Montreal in like 1980, made the cover of SI. They had
Really?
some real cash to deal with back then. Yep, look it up.
I'll say this too with the Vikings tie-in. It was really cool to be there last summer and see Bud Grant's name up immortalized in
Got a
their
statue,
stadium.
right?
There might be a statue. I didn't see
There's a
that,
statue.
but I
I'd
did
see a
see
statue out
I did
outside
see the name.
US Bank
It's pretty
Stadium.
cool. That's what I got. Go
That's a beaut.
Bombers for the W, baby.
Judd?
Okay. Before I die, I would like to see the Gopher athletic director, he or she, I don't care, hire a football coach and say, I'm going to now turn my back, and whatever you do, I don't care.
Love it.
Because I want to win at all costs. And if we get probation, that's fine. Because you know what? I realized when the Gopher basketball team made the Final Four, which was erased from the record books because of academic scandal, which, by the way, now it is a joke, but was erased. Guess what they couldn't do? They couldn't erase the memory of a Final Four run. And if you ask me today, would you prefer that to never have gone through that? Because it's one thing to have your team go to a championship game and miss wide left and rip your heart out because they legitimately lost. But if you're going to come to me if the Gopher football team is going to make one appearance in the college football playoff, and 4 years hence, you're going to come to me and say, you know what, bad news. There was a lot of cheating and it's not going to count now. I'd say, okay. I don't give a crap.
Preach.
It's time to hire a coach and turn the and you know what? If PJ Fleck will do this, that's fine too. It's time to walk out of the room and say, whatever happens, I don't know a thing, but this is your operation to run. And I will tell you this, we will start to get you enough financial resources where we can recruit players and pay them at a level that's competitive, at least with the rest of my conference.
Yeah, I don't want to hop in and steal your take here, Judd, but once you bring up Gopher football, I'm going to talk about it. What you just closed with, that's the biggest deal to me. I think the world of the Dinkytown Collective, good for them. Anything is better than nothing. It's better than nothing, okay? But thinking that I am going to get Darius Taylor or whoever to stay here or come play here because you're giving a percentage of beer sales, pizza sales, or parlor burgers is nothing to Utah giving away 80 trucks to every scholarship player. It is on Mark Coyle, interim president guy or next president guy or gal. It's not all on the head coach here. PJ is very responsible for a lot of what's happened this year, largely responsible. He's not responsible for the last 60 years of Gopher football mediocrity at best, by the way. I love when people say, let's fire PJ, let's fire PJ. And then what? Fire the next guy in 4 to 7 years?
Yeah. And if I got
the problem's institutional.
If I got the AD job, my first question to football coaching candidates would be, what are your ethics?
Because we don't want any.
No. I don't want sexual assault. Like, I don't want anything that's untoward.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Just
either.
Okay with cheating.
But I want to cheat my way to success.
I don't want my kids going to class. If they're coming here to go to class, they should be going somewhere else to get their education. You're coming to the University of Minnesota to win football games.
I want to make you rich.
Yeah.
Love it.
Shout out Jim Harbaugh in the NCAA.
Exactly. Well put, Jessi.
Jim doesn't care. He's so obviously cashing in at the end of the year, riding off into the sunset.
And the NCAA is just so what I could go on for days griping.
They're
about
so
the
powerless at this point.
They're so stupid. They're just
which is why you should cheat more.
Cheat more. The repercussions really aren't that bad.
Exactly. Well put.
Thank you.
And you've got 3 kids, so you're not like you got 3 kids, and you could tell them right now, you know what? Yeah, this case is okay.
Right?
Okay, now I just one more quick thought though. Now with name, image, and likeness, and transfer portal and money, and the U doesn't have money at this point, right? So the only way you could possibly win to cover that gap is to find what is the next wave in cheating. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah. What coach is going to come in here and say, you know what? I know you can't give me the money to get the players that I want, but here's a new way we can skirt the system. I don't know what that is, but somebody out there knows what it is.
Someone knows it. Someone will do it. It's always money. Money talks, baby. We know that.
Yeah, we know.
Before I die, guys, I just want cup holders at every seat because every adult beverage deserves to have a holder for its drink. I understand why they're not up in the nosebleeds, and yes, that's what I can afford, so that's why if we go to these games, but I deserve to have a place to safely set my beer without it getting spilt over. That's all I want. Just
Jessi,
some sort of figure out.
Where'd you go?
What's up?
Where'd you go that you didn't get one?
Vikings game. I'm just talking in general. I
thought there was a specific.
This has been long plaguing my life. And it's a main reason I don't go to games anymore because I'm like, well, I just paid $13 for the beer. That Jim over there is going to spill because he's too drunk and he's trying to get to the bathroom and I can't pick it up quick enough before his hefty little feet step all over it. It's just
also
ridiculous.
What happens is you get the people who don't know which cup holder is theirs, and it often starts with the people at the end. They assume they have no cup holder. It's like, no, you do, but it's kind of to the left. And if they started off wrong, then everybody's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in an era where there were no cup holders for anyone, you guys.
No.
At Met Center, they didn't have any.
How are you supposed to drink your beers? That's the other problem with those upper level seats. There's not even room to drink your beer anymore. It's just so squished in.
Claim to fame. If you enjoyed a cup holder at the Metrodome, you can thank the fasteners from my father that screwed those cup holders into those seats.
Now, those were not there when it opened, though.
No, they
in
were
'82.
Not.
They were installed later.
Jeez.
I don't miss
Papa
what a time to be alive.
Those installed.
I tell you right now, I do not miss that building one
I bet you used to be able to keep the top on your pops too, huh?
You don't.
Yeah, there you.
Neither one of you missed the smell of asbestos at the Metrodome.
Oh, you know what, Jessi? Here's one. Ross might recall this. I doubt that you would, but there was a long-standing period in the Metrodome days when, first of all they were allowed to sell was 3-2 beer. So they couldn't sell full strength. And I'm not kidding. When they would come through the stands to sell it, they would come in cups. So like a beer cup, prepackaged with a cellophane. I think it was on top of it. And it was inevitably warm.
Yeah.
So like they didn't come through and pour a beer, like no cans involved. These were literally poured, I think, at taps. They filled up the thing, the carrying case,
like the popcorn carry trays. Type,
with beer.
Yeah.
In cups,
nightmare.
In a cup that big, and and plastic on top of it.
Nope.
Warm.
Terrible.
You talk
how
about
many did you still drink? You still drink? How many you still crush?
I don't know how many. I crushed a few, but 3. And the problem is 3-2, awful. Now, the one redeeming thing about the Dome was if you went behind the football press box in right field, there was a room called the rally room. And I'm not joking. There was a long period of time, 3-for-1s.
Wow.
And like Heinekens.
Bring
and
it
like
back.
And Heinekens and the real stuff. And so you would literally have people come off the street, come through the parking lot in the back door, no interest in the game, but they wanted, and I can't blame them, the 3-for-1s. And you could get sloshed back there.
So they're buying the cheapest ticket in to get the 3-for-1.
Dude, I don't even know they bought tickets. I think they came in through the damn back door and no one cared. And they'd come in and buy it. The rally room was legendary.
Best seats at the Dome for baseball. Remember in right field where there was the baggie and then they had all like the players' names that hung down, the retired names or whatever. And they'd always have like 3 seats before that whatever curtain came down. If you got in the front row there, that actually wasn't a bad way to watch the game because you could stand up and see everything and you had a great shot to get home run balls. And during batting practice, you could very easily heckle players, which I did one too many times. I think Scott Cashmere still has a restraining order against me.
I got kicked out of the Dome once.
I'd have to check that out.
What'd you do?
I was drinking at the age of 19 or 20. I can't remember how old I was.
They just kick you out at the time? No legal precautions?
They tried to. My ex had bought me the beer, and so they tried to get me to lure him over so they could like give him a ticket, but I was too kind and was like, no. I'm not going to put him on the head. So they just escorted me out.
Wait, so he was with you, but not
he wasn't
at the
with
moment?
me. He was not. Yeah, he was over. He was with some other friends. He literally was an ex at that time, but I used him to get me some beer because that's what I can do. I was like, you owe me this.
But you didn't get in trouble then?
No trouble, no ticket. They just kicked me out.
I mean, you could have got a ticket.
Yeah, you could have gotten an underage ticket, but nope. It's my charm. I was like, I'm really sorry, sir. The Twins suck right now. It's just.
Oh, you weren't sorry at all. You purposely tried to drink
underage. We drank on the way down there for crying out loud.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Did you get a little misty eye? Did you start tearing up too? Did you try and sell it a bit?
No, I think I was a little drunk, so I was very
too drunk to get
chipper.
Upset.
Like, oh, sorry about that. Well, my friend blew it. There's a whole story. My friend blew it because she was all nervous, and she's like, "We're gonna get caught." I'm like, "If you act like an idiot, we're gonna get caught. Just act like a normal person." Yeah. She didn't, so it's her fault.
The Dome
What
was
was
hard to drink in at that age. Like
Yeah.
like they were pretty
were pretty
pretty
good.
strict on things. Yeah.
It was pretty
What was the fake name on your ID? On your
No,
fake
I
ID?
didn't buy it. I didn't. So that's why, like, the
That's what
guy who
she's
bought
saying.
it for me.
No, but
would
did you
gotten
ever
in
have a
trouble.
fake ID?
No, I was a
You
very
never
good
had a
kid.
fake ID. Okay.
Yeah.
You never did?
No,
You
I have a
strike me as
September
fake ID
birthday, so I'm an
person.
early. I turned 21 fairly early anyway. Plus house parties. Like, I didn't need to go buy things. I had plenty of people that would do it for me.
I love when we hit the inevitable
Had
part
one.
of this podcast where it just spins off.
We're talking about the
rails.
Metrodome. We're talking about the Metrodome, the rally room. Love the rally room.
Can we get
15
back to
minutes.
Wally? Can we get to Wally the beer man getting busted? What an
Oof.
unfortunate situation
That was
rude.
that was.
Bull, you know what? You know where
He
you know
was set up.
I was too young for part of the time, but the Met Center was a great place to drink beer.
Oh, my dad talks about the Met Center all the time.
North Star
Love
games,
it.
great place to
Mhm.
drink beer.
I was
Yeah.
only there once, and I only vaguely remember it, which is sad.
I have a shirt that says Met Center with the colored things. It's awesome. But you know what else is awesome? You guys for hanging in
All
there, listening and watching all of this week's episode of Before I Die. Don't forget to check out all our other Purple Daily content on Score North. You got your breakdowns, you got your In the Weeds, you got your X's and O's. If you're looking for that, guys, this one ain't it. This one is fun and entertaining. Go to the other channels. There's plenty of awesome content. Not to mention, you've got Judd's Hockey Show, you've got Timberwolves, Twins, all of your stuff that you want to talk about. Royce Unchained, good things happening. That's going to do it for this week. Until next week, Skol Vikings.
Hennepin.